everyone. A warm welcome to our session on mastering silent language and body language for success. We are delighted to have all our participants here today, and a special welcome to our chairperson, Dr. Rukshida Sayeda, and our vice chairperson, Ms. Pallavi Korgaonkar, and our speaker, Ms. Sanjana Chauhan, who is an executive communication and public speaking coach, editorial consultant, and anchor of NDTV Profit. Uh, I'll ask Rukshida ma'am to go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Reshma. Good morning, everyone. We're doing this for the very first time when we're doing a webinar at 10 a.m. in the morning. We thought that let's try and see whether how many early birds we have that really wants to catch the worm. So it's kind of like an experiment for us, and we're very grateful for all of you guys who have joined in. Today's session, we had more than 145 registrations, so that definitely goes to show that the topic is so appealing to everybody, and we are very grateful for having such a wonderful speaker today and such an expert in her field. Before I wax poetic more about her, because she definitely deserves all the kudos, a little small note from our side about IWN. As we all know, Confederation of Indian Industries is a huge network. It's a very old network, very respected. All of us love it because it's given so much to us. And Indian Women's Network was launched by CII in 2013 with a very clear vision of advancing equity of women by enabling and empowering personal, professional growth and success through advocacy, education, networking, coaching, mentoring, and skill development opportunities. All IWN chapters also work closely with the government to enable policy and decision making at state level to support their purposes. And IWN is open to all aspiring women achievers from diverse backgrounds, including working professionals like myself, leaders, entrepreneurs, and students. IWN focuses on following tracks to achieve its purposes. Leadership pillars, gender parity, policy and advocacy, health and well-being. We have the IWN Maharashtra has a flagship event called She Matters that we host every year in November, which focuses on health, particularly of women and their families. And IWN all over India, we are present in 14 states and 1 union territory and 5 zones nationally. We are all of us. We are women in industry, entrepreneurs, independent professionals, like I said, even students and faculty in higher education institutes. What it creates is it creates a network or within the CIIWN and CII members at different levels. It helps us showcase our expertise. It helps us to be, it gives us an opportunity to become part of the leadership of CII. But to be part of events, a lot of them are, just complimentary registrations for IWN members. And it definitely gives us an opportunity to mentor and be mentored and be a coach and learn from each other and learn from our elders and learn from our youngers and seniors across industry. One of the major reasons I'm also part of IWN when I'm not like from an industry per se is definitely that because it's allowed me to meet fascinating women, fascinating people doing so great, and they're so inspirational. And of course, all of us can use a little bit more inspiration on a daily basis to help us grow and meet our goals, and also recognize goals that we may not have even understood that we have or we want anymore. So I welcome all of you all to spread the word about IWN. Join us if you aren't already a member, and so that you can network and encourage each other, meet people across industries and meet people across cities and states. And of course, for any kind of membership queries, you can get in touch with Reshma. She's available at the CII Worli office here in Mumbai. Her email address is reshma.hinde@cii.in. Or anybody can put your query in the chat box here as well, so that we can help you out a little bit more. With this, I'm going to do the I have the great pleasure of introducing Sanjana Chauhan. She's somebody that I've been fortunate enough to know for a very, very long period of time now. And she's super busy, but she's also so kind and generous to have, absolutely agreed. I didn't even call her because, oh, well, she's super busy and I'm a little bit for Gen Z. I message, don't call. So I just messaged her, and right off the bat, she's like, of course, doc. And that shows you the enthusiasm that she has for her work, and the expertise that she has in her field is unparalleled. Really, I've seen her in action, not just on television but also in meetings and in boardrooms. She commands a certain amount of respect, attention, but also gives up a lot of warmth and a lot of empathy as well. So a little bit of what she does, if we can learn from her, I think would benefit a lot of us across genders, but women in particular. She does a lot of personal coachings, but also corporate events where she goes into, train high level executives, because she is so great at her work. We're very, very, again, very, very fortunate that she's agreed to, do this for us, apart from being and a TV anchor and a communication expert and a media expert. She's also a young mom with a young baby, so that also tells us her dedication to her work and her generosity for giving her time today. With this, I'm going to welcome Sanjana Chauhan and hand over the session to her. Sanjana.
Thank you, Doc. That's you've said so much, and it's going to be a tough act to follow. And I hope I'm able to keep that up. But the only thing I'd correct you is by saying I'm not a young mom. I have a young child, but I'm not young. I'm well across and over the mid-30s. But hi everyone, my name is Sanjana. I'm so happy to be here. Like Dr. Ruksheda said, I'm a news anchor with NDTV Profit. I've been a news anchor for a little over 10 years. I want to say actually I'm in my 16th year this year. And my forte is usually culture and gender and current affairs, but I have been thrown out of my wheelhouse, and now I'm working on simplifying everything to do with finance and the economy, and while at the same time trying to maintain this, this ease of simplicity and ease of speaking and communicating. And on the weekends, like she rightly said, I help people communicate better, do better when it comes to public speaking and presentations, because this is a void that I realized around lockdown, when people suddenly had to start working on Zoom, and really confident, well-spoken people suddenly came online and froze, right? Of course, part of that is to do with like, where's the button? And, can you hear me? And all kinds of audio issues and work from home issues with pressure cooker ka CT going off and everything else. But besides that, I think also a lot of people finally were seeing themselves perform and seeing themselves present, and they suddenly, cowered down and suddenly forgot about all of the stuff that they had built through the years. This is not one of those presentations where I just, show slides and, you guys just go on and wondering when is she going to be done. So please fire up the chat box. Ask me as many questions as you like. I'll be happy to take all of them. You want to interrupt in the chat box, just go ahead. I'll try and answer everything. And in case you feel like there's something you'd like to ask me later, I'm happy to leave my email right after this session, and you can get in touch with me for anything really. So, with that, I'd like to today focus on something that a lot of people think that is a very small part of communication, right? It is to do with non-verbal communication. Anybody knows what non-verbal communication is? And don't go silent on me. Don't leave me on red, as Gen Z says. What's non-verbal communication? Anybody?
I think we'll also, take advantage of the situation and make Reshma answer a lot of questions.
Amazing. Okay, Reshma, we're putting you on the spot. Okay, Advaya, body language. Great. Anyone else? Without using words, which is not verbal. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Expressions, body language. Okay, okay, fab. Okay, so I think my job here is done. But the thing is, non-verbal communication, like all of you rightly said, is the part that is not spoken. It is your body language, it is your posture, it is eye contact. Now, time for another trivia. If I were to ask you, what percent of non-verbal communication makes up effective communication, what would you say? 10%, 5%, what would you say? Okay, 90%. Any more numbers? 70%, 50%, 60, 75. Okay, okay. All right. Okay, great. So the winners are Tressa and Chaya. It is 70%. So we assume that it is a half and half. But if I were to look at you today and say, hey, I'm really happy to be here today versus I'm really happy to be here today. I'm really happy to be here today. I'm really happy to be here today. Right? So a lot of times what people don't realize is that their posture, their eye contact, their gestures are letting them down, right? So I see really sharp, confident women walk into presentations, walk into boardrooms, and suddenly they slouch. Suddenly they just want to like shrivel up and die somewhere. You know, they sit like this with their limbs under a table. When they are called upon, they slouch and they answer in a small voice. Okay. I'd like all of you to try something again now. And maybe you can like report in the chat box about how you felt. Okay. So I'd like you to really slouch. Really go for it. Okay. Like give me really bad posture. Really, really bad posture. So much so that your shoulders should be right up and just slouch. Okay. Are we in like really bad posture? Yeah. Okay, amazing. Now I want you to try and speak. Try and say something. Reshma, is it working when you're saying something? Yeah? You're on mute. Is it working? Okay.
Yes.
Now I want you, so I'm going to use Reshma as my lab rat, okay? So now I'm going to ask you to roll your shoulders back. Roll your shoulders back. Yeah, sit straight. Now make sure your spine is absolutely straight. Your head is up. Your chin should be parallel to the floor. And now try and speak, Reshma.
Hi, everyone.
How is this versus hi, everyone? Right? Right? So I'm maybe going to call on Dr. Ruksheda as well to give the medical part of it and you know what those body parts are called. But essentially what you're doing, right, Gauri, 180 degree shift. What happens is when we slouch, you're literally like contracting your diaphragm, your solar plexus, your core muscles. You're actually contracting that. Okay. So what happens when you do that, your voice doesn't come out. Your voice doesn't come out. So the human body is also urging you to sit up straight, to roll your shoulders back so that you can really speak. So body language is not just some stuff that I made up or that I got off the internet, right? It actually means that your body is asking you to sit up straight. One more thing I'd like all of you to try. Okay. Take a deep breath, but not from just the yoga stuff that we do. Okay. I want you to take a deep breath from your stomach. Okay. So really fill your stomach with a lot of air. Okay. Yeah. Big inhale. And when you exhale, now I want you to say, hello, good morning. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Reshma, how did that feel?
Good.
Okay. So for all practical purposes, whether you're in the gym or whether you are posing for a photograph or whether you are giving a presentation, when your core is engaged, magic will happen. Okay. So you have to engage your core. What does engaging your core mean? Anybody knows what's engaging core? slightly, Dr. Ruksheda is a gym rat like me, so she knows what engaging core is. Anybody else? What's engaging your core? Any Pilates, gym, yoga people here? Keeping it tight. Yes, Chirag. Yes. Keeping it tight doesn't mean that you need to hold your breath. But when I say bang on, Chaya, it's about being internally active. That you need to keep your spine erect, intact, and hold your tummy muscles in. Now, all of you, I'd like you to engage your core. Now, if you engage your core and then you speak, how does that feel? Tell me, fire up the chat box. How is it feeling now when you are engaging your core and speaking? Feels good? Feels good? Confident? Absolutely. Active, in control. Do you see the difference this makes versus you walking into a room and just saying, yeah, today we just gathered over here to just show, our team and the progress and the achievements versus rolling your shoulders back, taking a deep breath, using your core and saying, good morning, everybody. Today we gathered here to show our team's progress and achievements. One more thing is also if you engage your core, what you can do is modulate your voice. What is the meaning of modulation? I can go from high and I can also keep it low. I can go really high and I can also keep it really low. The great part about engaging your core and taking deep breaths is also that you will never have to scream or shout to be heard. Do you see the difference? Now, if I tell you, today I'm going to be speaking really loudly, so a lot of you can hear me. And does it appear like I'm screaming or shouting, or just that I'm speaking in a louder, more excited volume? Does it appear that I'm shouting? Am I straining my vocal cords in any way? Is my voice sounding high-pitched? No, right?
No.
It's still sounding confident because I'm speaking from my stomach. So if anything today, the biggest takeaway needs to be speak, breathe from the stomach. I know it sounds funny. You're going to come away and say, hey, today I attended a morning workshop. What do you learn? Breathe from your stomach. Speak from your stomach. But that's the magic of sounding confident and sounding reassured. Okay. So speak from the stomach. All right. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to show you some very non-boring slides, but I'm going to take you through the elements of body language and all of the things that make up a strong and confident person, right? But I want just a caveat before I get into it is that don't assume that body language just means one thing. So what I mean to say by that is a lot of times people will say, this person was not making eye contact with me. So I found it a little bit shady. I didn't like how they were talking to me. What they don't realize is it's not just the eye contact. It is the entire vibe. Vibes were off. कैसे बोलते हैं ना? Energy थोड़ा off था. That is your body language. It's not some internal spiritual, hate to break it to you. It's none of that. It is just your body language. Maybe you are not looking at that person, or maybe you were burning a hole through their forehead by staring. Maybe you were not using gestures, right? A lot of times people sit like this, right? This is different. This is different. So if I were to put my hands here and sit, a lot better than this, right? So people also think, his arms were crossed, so he's very closed off, very hostile person. Arms may be crossed, maybe the guy is feeling cold, but what if that person made very warm eye contact with you, smiled, nodded to listen to you? Would you still say the person is hostile? No, right? So body language needs to be considered like with the whole package, not just one or two elements. Okay? All right. So with that, now I'm going to just take you through some slides. Somebody asked a question. No, Zoom is only asking me a question. Okay. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Super. All right. Please don't call me ma'am. Sanjana is absolutely fine. Okay. So energy is absolutely vital, whether it is a podcast, whether it is a media interaction, whether it is a meeting, or even otherwise. Energy essentially means that you are captivating the audience's attention. And energy doesn't always mean ke enthusiasm. It doesn't always mean कि अच्छा ये passionately बात कर रही है, right? It can mean what is the emotion that you are trying to evoke. Okay. So for example, if I ask you, oh, what is it that you are presenting today? I don't know, Sanjana. I'm actually trying to show my team the mistakes that they have made. Okay. So what is the energy that you want to showcase or portray? The energy that I want to showcase and portray is that I am a little bit disappointed by the numbers, but I don't want to be demotivating, right? So are you still going to come in and be like, hi, everybody? Okay, just want to lay it out for you guys. Numbers are really bad, but we can do better. No, right? Your energy is going to be, hey, everyone. So what we're seeing on screen is a little bit disappointing, but there's no need for us to get demotivated by this. I think we can make it through. But what is common between both those things that I showed you guys, right? One is I spoke with conviction. A lot of my clients, I tell them this, you know your content, you know your sales figures, you know what you need to talk about, but between what you're actually saying and the way your body language is, something is disconnecting. There is a disconnect. That means you're not speaking with conviction. And I find this across the board, and sad to say, mostly with women, right? Because we feel like, oh, I have something to say in a meeting, but is it okay if I say something? Oh, I just want to say something. I don't know whether this has been discussed before, or correct me if I'm wrong. Have you noticed? Have you done this in a meeting? I'm sure you have. I'm sure I can like guarantee all of you have done this at least once or twice, right? So don't do that. Don't add, they're called qualifiers. Don't add these qualifiers in meetings and in presentations. If you have something to say exactly that. I have something to say. I'd like to add something here. Oh, I'd like to know what everybody thinks. Why? Why do you need everybody's opinion to speak up in a meeting? Okay, go for it. Oh, this might sound a little bit silly. This might sound a little bit stupid. Do you see what you have done when you make a comment like that? Like today, if I tell you, oh, it might sound a little bit silly or stupid what I'm saying, but I'd like you to try this, when you go home, sit up straight and talk nicely. What have I done? I have already decided and I have already told you that what I'm saying is sounding stupid. Right? So, I have essentially like मैंने अपने आप को ही हराया है. I have dug my own grave. So this is also part of energy. This is also part of, speaking with conviction. Second is speak clearly and concisely. Clearly का क्या मतलब है? You need to articulate every word. I find so many people will be talking to themselves, will eat up their words, will stammer because they're probably nervous. But what's a good way to overcome that? Take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. So if you find, and I'm going to ask all of you, are you one of those people that feels like I wanted to start from point A and reach point B, but I went everywhere and then I finally got to that point? Does it happen? Does it happen with all of you? Yeah, it does. Okay. That's called rambling. Okay. Where you want to say a certain thing and you want to flow in a certain way. But what ends up happening is you go all over the place. So how do you get from point A to point B? Take a deep breath. When you take a deep breath, it gives you a chance to pause and reorganize your thoughts. And I want you to say this line out loud. What I'm trying to say is, what that does is that it forces you to speak in a concise way, right? Again, I maybe will hopefully allude to Dr. Ruksheda to say, maybe it is a mindset switch, maybe it is a message that you're sending your brain when you say, what I'm trying to say is that you're sending a message to your brain saying, hey, shorten it. Don't go into long overdrawn explanations. So many people do that. Okay. So try this exercise when you go home or like today in office or like even over the weekend to speak concisely. It's called the 30, 10, and 5 game. Okay. So if I ask you and say, Reshma, give me something complex in your daily work that you will need to take time or simplify to explain to somebody. It could be a process, it could be a certain product, it could be a deliverable of yours, anything. What would you say? Give me something.
Mhm.
Okay, no worries. Dr. Ruksheda, sorry, I'm going to call on you now, the student, the good student. Dr. Ruksheda, if I asked you to explain something, let's say explain ADHD. ADHD, okay? So I want all of you to take that one complex thing and then ask yourself, how can I explain this to a layman in 30 seconds? So if I told Dr. Ruksheda, describe ADHD to me in 30 seconds, and then in 10 seconds, and then in 5 words. So I want you to try this exercise today. What it essentially does is that it tells your mind that you need to trim the fat. Leave out all the stuff that is probably technical, that is probably jargon. So the first thing probably Dr. Ruksheda would do would be to ask herself, who am I speaking to? Am I speaking to Sanjana? Probably doesn't understand like complicated use of, the brain and different parts of things. So how do I explain it to her in 30 seconds so she understands the crux of what it is? That's the kind of exercise that you need to possibly do. So next time you feel like, oh my God, I have to write a really long paper, or I have to give a long presentation, I don't know where to start. This is a great structure to start with. Okay. Then third is please use power words. So, oh, I am a team lead. I am a manager. Are you a manager or do you spearhead the operations? Spearhead, anchor, lead, right? Now, when I say those words, how does it sound? Versus I say, I am actually in charge. I look at the evening programming in NDTV Profit. Okay. I steer or I lead the evening programming at NDTV Profit. Now, isn't that sounding like it is that I am calling the shots in the evening? And more importantly, it gives you a very clear sense of fact of what my job entails. Okay. So absolutely, this sounds of action, Gauri. Exactly. You need to speak in action, and more than that, your words need to be powerful, right? So expand your vocabulary. I'm not asking you to be Shashi Tharoor, but expand your vocabulary. So today, if I say, oh, I'm sad, are you sad disappointed? Are you sad upset? Are you sad mortified? You get what I'm going with this? So all of this is part of your energy. And most importantly, please be mindful of your facial expressions. Show enthusiasm. Smile. Raise your eyebrows. A lot of people think that, oh, I don't have to necessarily. Hi, darling. I'm just joined by my son who wants to come and say hello. So you always need to show that you care about. Oh, you want to say hi really quickly? Say hi.
Hello.
Okay, chalo. Okay. So all of these things kind of consist of energy. You have to be enthusiastic, and enthusiastic doesn't always necessarily mean that, happy and excited. By enthusiasm, I mean that you need to speak with purpose. So if your heart is not in it, it shows. For example, if I ask all of you, do I look like I am enjoying myself right now? Like I'm really happy to be here. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. Yes, it's a no-brainer, right? Because I definitely do feel like I am speaking with purpose, because before I come here, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a chance to speak to so many women, so many successful women. It's going to be amazing, right? And when you do that, you'll always be able to approach something with a certain amount of energy. Next, let's look at eye contact. Aankhon ki gustakhiya. Okay, so when you maintain eye contact, and I know I've just written a podcast over here, but I'm talking about even general interactions. Okay, does anyone want to tell me? I don't know where to look. I don't know whether I should look for a long time. I don't know kitne time ke liye mujhe dekhna hai. What would you say? Does this happen to any of you? Anybody has this struggle? No one? Oh, wow. No one? Okay, cool. So I'm still going to go ahead and tell you, eye contact, we place too much importance sometimes, no struggle. Amazing, Sandhya. Sandhya, do you want to tell me what kind of eye contact you maintain when you're talking to people? Okay. One looks for a few seconds. Yeah, that's a good enough way. Okay. Normal eye contact. Also depends on what we're talking about. Doc says I'm still struggling with how much and where to look. Yeah, particularly hard in your line of work, Doc, I'd say. Uneza says, somebody who's willing to be honest. I struggle with eye contact. My thoughts tend to get distracted if I maintain eye contact. Valid, Uneza. And thanks so much for being vulnerable and being so candid. I really appreciate it. So let's help you out. Okay. So with eye contact, like I said, we place too much importance on eye contact, right? So if you open LinkedIn, people will say, Are you always must maintain eye contact, handshake ekdam firm hona chahiye. You should keep looking at the person and keep shaking hands. Like all those WhatsApp uncles are, hello, sir, good morning, good morning. Yeah, so just want to tell you that it does not need to be like that. You're absolutely right, Sandhya. It can be gentle, but at the same time, don't feel the pressure to keep staring into somebody's eyes. So the general rule is not more than 4 seconds. 4 seconds. 4 seconds is a long time. Reshma, tell me how you feel if I look into your eyes like this. 4, 3, 2, 1. Reshma, I'm going to start our Bollywood movie then, any moment. Yeah. So, especially in a virtual setting, like you see right now, I'm looking everywhere and I'm also looking at the lens. So, you get the impression that I am talking with everyone. But a lot of people in a virtual setting are just looking at themselves. मैं कैसी लग रही हूँ? Or then they're looking down. So, don't do that. Keep looking everywhere. But the most important thing, and what will have impact is that whenever you have to make your point, then look into the person's eyes. So I can be looking up and I can be looking to the side because that's what we usually do when we're, trying to think about something. But when I'm making my point is when I look at the lens. Do you see the impact with doing that? Right? So I can look everywhere. But when I'm making my point, or when I'm asking the question or the punchline, that's when I look at somebody. That is your eye contact. Okay? Like Sandhya rightly said, you don't need to burn a hole in somebody's forehead. It's not needed. Okay? Just like, oh, Sanjana ne bola eye contact maintain karne ko, to let me just look at somebody. No. Yeah. That's the end of me. So eye contact needs to really be to foster connection, but at the same time, it's not that you don't make eye contact at all. I can understand you're intimidated, but there are so many people that I meet that look here over my head. Men, we know where their eyes go to, right? So it's really, really uncomfortable. And I'm just like, look at me, man. Look at me here. So if you feel like you can be intimidated or you're talking to somebody senior, what are we going to do? We're going to do something called the triangle technique. Triangle technique is where you look at one eye, then the other eye, and then the mouth. Okay. I particularly don't recommend this for men, like to look at the mouth. So for them, I'd say look at the chin. So what this does is that it gives the appearance of eye contact without feeling very, very intense. So a slightly more kosher version of triangle technique. I'd say, is gaze tracing. Gaze tracing also follows a triangle. This is more an inverted pyramid. Gaze tracing is an actual triangle where you can look at the forehead and you can look at the two shoulders. So that is still in the vicinity of the face, but it is slightly broader, so you do not feel too intimidated. Uneza, I hope this helps you. Now, in a virtual setting, keep the camera at eye level as much as you can. What does that mean? So a lot of times it can be where the chair is really low. Do you see how this looks? Do you see how this looks, how I'm looking right now? Yeah. Or even like this. I can't tell you the amount of people that come on virtual calls like this, right? Or then my favorite is like auntie uncle style, like this, right? So it's either top or bottom. So the solution for that is to keep a stack of books and then keep your laptop. Or if you want, amazing. Dr. Rukshita has really thick books. I've seen them. I know. They double up as like nice laptop stands. And otherwise, then make sure your feet are firmly resting on the ground. So I need you to follow like a 90-second rule, not 90-second, 90-degree, like this, and even your legs. And then your calves, that's my dog's tail, all need to be 90 seconds, 90 degrees, sorry, keep saying seconds. So when you do that and you keep your back straight, you'll always maintain that eye contact with the camera lens. Please don't stare and please don't blink. People do that, right? So you have to be mindful of these things. So now let's come to gestures. Okay. Anybody has issues with gestures? कहाँ रखना है, हाथ कहाँ, हाथ के साथ क्या करना है? Anyone? Nobody? Okay. All right. Wow. I'm like seated in a room of experts today. So gestures, I feel, are sometimes exaggerated or then they are not used at all. Okay. Yes, some gestures are very annoying of men. Gauri, you want to care to elaborate on that? What kind of gestures annoy you? This is good. This is good. It's important because it's important for us to know what kind of gestures can be annoying, what kind of gestures can be inappropriate. Yeah. So we need to know that, especially in professional settings. Gauri, you want to elaborate on that? Chirag, need guidance. Needs to come naturally. Okay, Sandhya. Cool. Anybody, Reshma or Dr. Rukshida, do you notice certain gestures that seem annoying or cringe-worthy to you? Person putting their hands in pockets. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Definitely annoying. Anybody else? It's superiority complex. Yes. Salman Khan in the recent couple show. I love that example. Salman Khan in everything, in Big Boss also, and even in his dance moves, even looking somewhere else while talking. Yeah, Aarti, totally. Throwing hands too much. Yes, Neha, totally. So I'm so glad you said that, Neha, because a lot of times people imagine that I need to do lots of gestures. Then what happens? Superb, Aarti, pointing. So the thing with gestures is that it can go south rapidly. Okay. So the idea is that gestures need to supplement your conversation. So if I'm showing numbers, if I'm showing symbols, if I'm showing distance, if I'm trying to show duration, things like that. So if I say there is a point A and you're trying to get to point B, then gestures make sense. Or if I say there's point A and then you're trying to get to point B, which one worked better? Obviously the second one, right? So I'm trying to show that then it makes sense. The biggest mistake people make with gestures is that they flail their limbs. It's like this, right? They're talking like this. When you speak like this, now if I'm talking to you guys like this, how do I look? What kind of adjectives come to your mind about me and the way that I speak? I could be talking like this. Like when I'm talking about gestures, what do you guys think about me? Now everybody will fire up the chat box. Loud. Yes. Would you trust me? Would you trust me enough for me to be your leader or your manager? Dude, oh, who gave thumbs up? Thanks. Not at all. Cannot connect. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So all of this, when you do that, it shows nervousness on my part. When we flail our limbs, it shows nervousness on my part. And immediately you feel like, I can't connect with this person. I don't trust this person. Right? So this is why I'm saying gestures and body language, it plays a huge difference. We think, अरे इसका तो 13 years का experience है. So, or you think, oh, I have so many years of experience. I have led these many teams. I know my job very well. But what will fail you? Things like this. Gestures, eye contact. Where your team is suddenly like, ठीक है, जो भी है वो बोल रहे हैं, but उसके मतलब body language से लगता नहीं है. And it's not like your brain will even tell you it's because of the body language. It'll just be like a feeling that you have inside that I can't really trust this person. I don't think this person really knows what they're talking about. And it's not because I don't know my work or that I have not worked in that field before. It is because of my body language. So this makes a huge, huge difference. So a go-to for me, especially when I'm on air, or if I'm like standing and I'm doing a social media video, or even if I'm presenting, I always like the class or it's called the steeple. You bring your hands together in a steeple position with your fingertips touching. This is if you feel like I don't know what to do with my hands. Okay. But this is another important thing I want to tell you. Let's say you have a book or placards or whatever. So who's going to tell me which hand do I have to hold this in? If I need to hold left, okay, left. So by left, you mean I need to hold it in my non-dominant hand, right? Right? Left, right? Okay. So all of you are right. This is assuming that you are assuming that my non-dominant hand is my left hand. I could be ambidextrous for all you know. But essentially, it means that you should hold. Yeah, Gauri, the thing is, you need to hold the placard in the non-dominant hand. So my non-dominant hand is my left hand because I'm more comfortable with making gestures with my right hand. I'd like all of you to try it right now. Pick up a paper or a book or anything. Okay. Now imagine that you need to read something. And if I say, okay, this book, since school, Sana has been the popular girl with excellent grades. I am feeling uncomfortable. I may not look it, but I'm really making an effort to be comfortable right now. Why? Because I'm holding the book in my right hand, right? And I'm giving gestures in my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand. So I don't really know what's happening. But now let's make the switch. I want you to hold in your non-dominant hand. And now try and make gestures with the dominant hand and see how it feels. More in control, right? More in control. So, exactly, it feels easy. A lot of times we don't realize this because we're like, अरे presentation है, चलो ऊपर जाके मैं बोल लेती हूँ, खत्म करके वापस आ जाती हूँ. Absolutely, it balances you. So, gestures are a big display of what's happening in the mind. Okay, this is nervous. This is nervous. So another rule of thumb is that elbows को torso से चिपक के आप बात करो. So if you feel like you don't really know कि कितना आपको बड़ा करना है gestures, Make sure the elbows are fixed here to the torso and use your hands. Use your hands. Okay. Also, gestures should not be fast. Like if I talk like this, how is it looking? I'm looking dramatic, like I'm explaining the plot of some murder mystery, right? Or it's like a comedy movie. It should be slow. So if I'm saying, if you need to move from point A to point B, there is a bigger chance and more of a chance that you will understand me versus if I say point A to point B. And we do that. You all are probably laughing at me right now, but we do that because we're nervous and we want to like finish off our presentation. So all of this, whether you are presenting, whether you're talking to the media, whether you're doing a podcast, whether you are going up and addressing a town hall in your office, whether you are speaking to friends, whether you are speaking to colleagues, anything, enjoy that moment, revel in that moment. When you revel in that moment, it will show and others will also enjoy with you. I have a client who is like, I mean, she's such a talented photographer and she's called and invited in these panels across the world. And she was invited to Japan recently and she was asked to give a presentation of 5 minutes. She came back in 2 minutes. And I'm like, Indians की यही problem है. या तो आप 2 मिनट का presentation दोगे या तो आप 10 मिनट का presentation दोगे, right? This is our extreme. There is no like in between. But then she was invited again and then she went back and this time she really nailed it and she nailed it within that time period because she was enjoying the stage. So instead of letting that moment eat you up and really like, take away all of your confidence, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like just be happy to be here and let that show in your body language. Okay? Crossed arms, avoid. I know as women, we tend to do that because we feel conscious about this breast and chest area, but avoid it. Try and sit up straight, use your gestures more. Don't fold your arms so much. Now, if I fold my arms and I'm talking to you guys like this, how does it look? I can be smiley and I can be my friendly self, but it looks like I'm closing off something, right? So, approachable, open body language is the way to go about it, especially if you are a woman, because I mean, God knows we have enough biases against us in the workplace. You don't want to add this also to the laundry list. Bye, Sandhya. Bye, Sandhya. Nice to meet you. Okay, and last is nervous fidgeting. Pen ke saath. So if you feel that you are somebody that fidgets, try and hold something like in your hand to stop making you fidget, but don't fidget with that also. Right? That should be a message not to fidget. Okay, so that's something that we also need to be clear about. A lot of people do this with their leg, like this on the table. Please, please, please don't do that. It's not only is it cringe, but it is very, very infuriating and makes you look bad. Okay, my favorite posture, like I just told you at the start about the exercise, sit upright with your shoulders back. Open up your chest. It conveys openness and transparency. Have a very balanced stance. So even if you are standing, your feet should be firmly on the ground. Firmly on the ground. I want to show you something. A lot of times we are standing like this. She looks hilarious, I know. And you're going to be like, that's not me. Trust me. I can take a picture and I will show you all that at this some point, how have we to place our hands when we are listening? How? Okay, on the table, like this. So I do this on TV a lot because I do a lot of panel discussions. So I keep a hand here or I keep a hand rested. Hands is that you
I think Sanjana is having some internet issues.
posture.
Sorry, Sanjana, we lost you for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're back on.
I'm back. I froze for a second. Okay. There's also this while sitting. Do you see how she's sitting? And I can guarantee you this is so many of us on a daily basis, not just at the start of the day. But this is essentially what the 90-degree rule is. So do you see her head and the spine and all this? It's all 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Okay, so that's more than anything else, it's good for your back. It's good for your posture. You don't need to add a list of health problems to your like already existing traumas that we have to deal with in life. Okay, and see, feet should always be rested firmly on the ground. Right. So if you feel that you are shorter and you don't have chairs that will help you maybe have your feet reach the ground, use a stool. Use a stool. It really helps, find firm footing. So that's essentially what you need to follow when it comes to posture. Okay. Just some quick stuff on voice and tone. A lot of times people feel, like I said, that they eat up their words or then they end up stammering and fumbling. A way to overcome that is that take any like newspaper, magazine, whatever. You want to take a book of your apne presentation se padhna hai, go ahead and do that. And I need you to over-articulate your words. What's the meaning of over-articulate? Let me show you. Ensure that your words are clear and well articulated. Pronounce each word with precision, avoiding rushed speech or mumbling. When you do that, you don't have to do it in real life. When you do that alone, it will help you enunciate and be able to pronounce your words better. I have clients, and this is not our fault. It's because the Hindi language does not have a v and a w. A lot of times we confuse v and w. हम लोग v को w बोल देते हैं. Was, वो was में डाल दो. He's very excited. Very excited. Very excited. There is a saying, right, with dancers, that your dance needs to be so good that I should be able to take a photograph of every step. Similarly, when you speak, I should be able to close my eyes and hear every word correctly. That's the clarity that we need to aim for. When you speak that way, so today, if I talk to you and I drop my voice at the end of the sentence, so then I just like, I end up eating up my words. Versus if I say the right voice and tone shapes the message's perception and conveys authenticity, right? You are able to hear every word. More importantly, you are able to understand. So if I say authenticity, you understand that not only is she saying the word well, she's pausing on the right parts of the word and the right syllable that really makes you feel that something is authentic. So just focus on that. And I understand that some of you need to leave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause right here in case anybody has any questions. And I'm just going to share this slide, all of these slides with Dr. Ruksheda and Reshma in case they'd like to share it with you. But I'll stop right now.
Thank you, Sanjana. I'm going to take advantage of my position as the chair on this session as well and ask a few questions. Very often, especially for women, we're struggling. Oh, I don't want to come across as aggressive, but how do I be assertive? So from a body language perspective, some small few tips maybe?
Yeah, I actually struggled with that a lot, and I'm glad that you raised it. So when I was younger, on TV, a lot of times I would come across looking very angry. And it was obviously because people were triggering me and riling me and calling me all kinds of names on national TV. But the idea is that, yes, darling. Yes, give me 2 minutes. But the idea is that you need to not be affected. And it's easier for me to say, easier said than done, but not have an ego about it. So if you're going into a meeting and you feel like there is a chance that this very older gentleman in my team is going to try and intimidate me. It's called the Ben Franklin effect. Turn it around and instead ask that person for advice or guidance. And even from a body language perspective, I'll give you an example. So today, a couple of years ago, somebody came up to me and said, "आप जानते ही क्या हो? आप तो on जाके कुछ भी बोल देते हो." And when I was younger, it was like, "Oh, how the hell can you say that to me? And I am doing my homework and everything." Now, if somebody says that to me, they don't. Let them try. But now, if somebody were to say that to me, I'd look at them and I'd say, "Actually, sir, मैं नहीं जानती हूँ, so why don't you explain to me?" So when you smile and you kind of remove yourself from that situation and don't make it about your ego and keep like an open, approachable gesture like this, right? So no pointing and none of that aggressive body language, but please tell me, right? And smile a lot, but of course not in a passive aggressive sarcastic way. That I think really helps take away that air of being aggressive or hostile at the workplace.
Very often, like there'll be manspreading, right? And that automatically makes the woman kind of like shrink. So how
Yeah.
do you own your space even while someone else is maybe, intruding your boundaries, perhaps? What do you?
Sure. Fab. Great question. And I think a lot of times we also are a little bit confused about how we need to sit as women. If only all of us could manspread and sit like that, it would be amazing. But I think the best thing is to just sit up straight, roll your shoulders back. Because what happens is that, look, people who bully, if they get bullied or if you stand up to them, they cower down. It works the same in body language. So if you were to sit up straight but also have your hands in a clasp for a steeple, but your legs need to be crossed at the bottom of your chair, not like this. Just cross your feet to the side of the chair. That's what you need to do, and sit up straight. It really gives an air of confidence and not being very hostile.
Thank you so much. I travel so much, and initially I would really shrink in when there was a male passenger sitting next to me and would be manspreading. But over the time, I've kind of learned to say, "Excuse me, could you move your hand?" or "Excuse me, could you move your leg?" And because a lot of the times, even they might not really even realize that they're doing that because they take up, they're used to feeling entitled to take up so much of space. And when you remind them, they're most of the times are very, very polite and they'll absolutely correct themselves. So I think not getting intimidated is such an important aspect. I'm going to ask you one question, last question from my side. I know we're all running out of time, but very often, we're socializing in professional settings. So any kind of like, we're supposed to let our hair down, but at the same time, we still are kind of networking as well and making impressions. So any small few little tips there, maybe?
Sure. So I heard this on a podcast once, and after that, I've actually like tested it out. So on the podcast, essentially, it was Mel Robbins, and she interviewed somebody who is like a social studies, a sociologist, and that person essentially said that if you look at any party or networking event, what is a sure shot giveaway as to like what's happening and the dynamics of the different relationships there are the toes. So I would actually urge you that if you feel like you want to talk to somebody and you really want to engage with them, your shoulders and your toes should always be pointed towards them. So, because a lot of times we end up talking like this to people, even at work, right? So if I'm like typing something and you talk to me, I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" Versus if I talk to you like this and I keep it aside and say, "Yes."
We've lost you again.
Is the right amount of being friendly but professional at the same time. Otherwise, you don't want to come off as being standoffish, but like, "Hey, I'm casual, but I'm awkward and standoffish." So I think these small tweaks can really help.
Thank you so much. I will continue asking a lot of questions, but I'm trying to be mindful of your time as well as our participants' time. Very difficult for us to take off time at 10 o'clock on a work day. But clearly, a lot of managers are going to be nice with us and let us do this. So I'm just going to say, like, if there are any questions from the audience or anything of that sort, I'm just gonna like give you like 1 minute.
Sure. I think I see one from Neha saying at the office party, if you are not holding a drink, how do you have to pose or how should be our hand gestures? Assuming that you are standing alone, Neha, and you're not really talking to anybody, go with the class. Like maybe you want to stand like this at the bottom, like hold it towards the bottom. Nothing wrong with that. If you feel like you do want to cross your arms, I would say don't cross your arms like this, right? If you feel like you want to cross your arms and you're not going to be taken as somebody that's, closed off, say it's like with people that you know really well. I mean, office people, they all know us really well. We work 8 hours with them. So I think just like with your back straight, and when you show your hands, right, it's more of a power pose move as opposed to, do you see the difference with just showing your hands, right? Gauri, in the manufacturing world, you are surrounded by men. How should our gestures be so that we are part of the team, but have that distance of being a female? Fabulous. I would say, don't shrivel and don't feel like you can't own your space. I would say own your space. Because a lot of times I find women that will not take up space and then they end up just going into the woodwork. If you are a woman that is in that circle of men, I'd much rather you stand out. So back straight, spine straight, use gestures, but your gestures should be gentle. So I would say, look, there's no like, the rule doesn't change, and it's not like you need to like tone down on the gestures basis on, whether it's a man or a woman. What I've taken you through today will actually work really well, even in a setup like this. How do you pose during long conversations with your boss and also when introducing yourself personally in a large setting? Okay. During a long conversation with your boss, I think just with your hands, listen, nod, tilt your head to the side, but react with your face. Okay. And the clasp and steeple, like what I told you, is a really good gesture to have because it shows respect, or even like this. And if you're speaking, use gestures, but not the gestures that will like that you're flinging it in the face. Keep those gestures really small and contained. Why we don't have this included in our education? I totally agree with you. We really need to. How do you identify the mentality of the other person by body language in a professional meeting? You need to tell me this. So the next time you go into a meeting, I want you to look at eye contact. I want you to look at posture. I want you to look at the voice, the tone, look at the gestures, all of these things. Look at where they are pointing, where they are sitting, where their shoulders and toes are pointed, and you tell me what you made out or assessed. So this is my favorite game at the gym because people are like listening to music all the time. So there's no like verbal exchange happening, but like, oh, this guy's trying to impress this girl or this guy's trying to impress himself, right? It's all the body language. We would like another session on this topic to assess person. I think better that we meet in person and then we can go somewhere and look at body language. We can do people watching. How to introduce yourself in a large unknown setting, say during your own book launch or product. Wow, that's a nice one. I think the best way to introduce yourself is to always start with a great lead, LEDE. In journalism, we're taught the lead. The social media people are calling it the hook. So 5 ways where you can improve your body language, right? So then suddenly you're like, oh, wow, I need to listen to this because it's numbers and the brain reacts to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the best way to do that is always remember to open strongly. So when I'm at a networking event, the way I introduce myself is that I look at that one common thread between the entire audience that will draw them to me. So, for example, if I'm here, I'm going to say, how many of you here are nervous before a big client or investor meeting? Everybody's going to say, "Me, I've been nervous at least once in my life." I can guarantee you that in a room of 10 people, at least 5 will say that to me. And I'll say, "Hi, I'm Sanjana, and I can help you with that." So what is your book about? What is your product about? Is it solving problems? Is it going to get people to talk about something? Think about that. And just want to give you like a parting shot, if anything. We are so focused on ourselves and what we want to say, and that, oh, mujhe ye bhi bolna hai, wo bhi bolna hai, that we forget that life is really not about us. It definitely is, but effective communication is really about how you make the other person feel. I can be very eloquent and have great like body language and know my content well, but if you don't leave my session feeling like, that was good, or like I felt a little more confident or equipped, I've not done my job. So think about how you can really impact the other person is really what I'd like to leave you all with.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. On that note, I think we should definitely end the session here because the more we have you, the more we want to learn from you, and you do have a life to get back to as well. Once again, deeply appreciative of all your generosity with your time and your knowledge and the collective wisdom that you've so easily given us, collective wisdom for all of your years being you as well as being a professional you. So we know that wherever we go, we bring a little bit of ourselves and a little bit of training to that platform, and which is important. And I think one big takeaway for all women should be that be okay with who you are at whatever place in life that you are going to be in. And if you're okay with who you are, then it's easier for you to kind of remember all the things that you have learned and want to now implement. And be allowing yourself to be you is one of the most confident verbal as well as non-verbal gestures you can ever make, and really rule the room if you want to. Especially in India with the cultural norms, we always have like a social or an age or or a position hierarchy, and women have to be kind of like more aware of it. But we do have a lot of advantages as well that a lot of men will be respectful in that sense, but of course the tone between madam and madam does make a lot of and tells us a lot about where we are at that minute. But I think over especially the last 10, 15 years, we've come a long way in terms of owning our own space, like Sanjana puts it. And that's something that we need to continue to do and continue to help other women do as well. And more men are more mindful of how to treat other women physically as well as non-verbally, verbally as well. So thank you so much once again. We do have Pallavi Korgaonkar, who's my partner in crime and co-chair of CIIW in Maharashtra chapter. Unfortunately, she's a little unwell, so the precious job of thanking, giving a formal vote of thanks to all of you all again falls upon me, and I'm happy to be here. So a huge shout out to all the delegates and participants who were so enthusiastically joining in today and clearly want more and more of Sanjana. And that goes to show that such an expert that she is. And again, so much of time and generosity on her part. Thank you so much, Sanjana. And of course, again, a huge shout out to Reshma. Without her, I don't think CIIWN would be functioning as well as we are clearly. So thank you, Reshma. Thank you, CII and the back office and logistics. Follow us up on Twitter and follow us up on other social media as well, because amazing way to stay connected. And yeah, give us a shout out at LinkedIn as well. So with this, I'm going to once again remind everybody that we are happy when more women join us, because together we're more powerful. And with this, I'm going to hand over to Reshma for a last thank you before we sign off.
Thank you all the participants and the panelists. I would really thank you, Sanjana ma'am, that you had made this session so interactive that all the participants were very active and it was an amazing session. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.